If your ex ever invited you to his wedding anniversary, would you go? I did. And his wife made the biggest mistake of her life. So before you judge me, listen till the end. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge is the one that ends with your name on the ring. Kiss Mark, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories about women who rise when the world tries to shame them. The night before the party, I couldn't sleep. The invitation card was on my nightstand, gleaming under the city lights sneaking through the curtains. It looked like it belonged in a museum, embossed letters, gold foil, an RSVP number printed in cursive. I wanted to tear it apart. Instead, I stared at it. The truth, I wasn't over him. Not completely. Not the way people pretend to move on. Yes, I had a career, a small social media brand that was finally growing. I looked strong, independent, like I'd built a life beyond heartbreak. But some nights, I'd still scroll through his photos, wondering if he ever thought of me. He used to. He used to call me his calm in the chaos. Then he met Claire, chaos wearing lipstick. She was rich, influential, beautiful, and she knew it. The type of woman who never had to ask for attention. It followed her like perfume. And Ethan, he followed too. He told me he needed stability, that our worlds didn't align. Translation: his parents didn't approve of me, the small-town girl with ambition, but no last name that mattered. I still remember the night he ended it. Rain pouring outside, his words colder than the weather. I'll always care about you, Alina, but this is bigger than us. And just like that, love died, killed by expectation. Now here I was, staring at a golden envelope from the man who chose status over soul. When Mia called that evening, she didn't even say hello. You're not seriously going, right? I might. Alina, this isn't closure. It's self-sabotage with cocktails. I laughed. Maybe I just want to see if karma wears heels. Mia groaned. You're insane. At least wear something unforgettable. So I did. I spent hours choosing that dress, a sleek black satin gown that hugged my body like confidence itself. My hair high and polished, my lips bold red. Not the girl he left. The woman he'd regret losing. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I wasn't going to that party as his past. I was going as the lesson he never learned. The night of the anniversary, the city was electric. The venue, the glass garden, was a fortress of elegance and ego. Every influencer, model, and executive in the city was there, cameras flashing under chandeliers. When my car pulled up, the valet gave me a knowing look. Miss Alina Hart. I nodded. He smiled. You're on the VIP list. Of course I was. Claire wouldn't miss the chance to show off how civilized she was, inviting her husband's ex to their perfect celebration. As I stepped out, the air thickened. People turned. Whispers followed. That's her, Ethan's ex, the one before Claire. I held my head high. If they wanted a show, I'd give them one. Inside, everything shimmered, champagne fountains, live violins, white roses on every table. The kind of place where love felt rehearsed. And then I saw him. Ethan. Same deep brown eyes, same dimple when he smiled, but something was off, like a shadow behind the charm. He looked at me as if he'd seen a ghost. Maybe he had. His wife noticed his gaze before I did. Claire Monroe, model, influencer, society's darling. She glided across the room like she owned oxygen itself. Alina, you made it, she said, her voice dripping with sweetness and poison. I smiled politely. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Her eyes flicked over my dress. You look impressive. I almost didn't recognize you without your little vintage scarves and minimal makeup. There it was, the insult wrapped in silk. I tilted my head. Well, people change, some for love, some for power. Her smile froze. Ethan coughed into his drink. Claire laughed lightly, too loud. "Oh, don't be shy, Alina. We're all friends here." Friends. The kind who stab you with compliments. She guided me toward a table near the stage, front row. Perfect view, perfect target. As I sat, Ethan leaned in. "You didn't have to come." "I wanted to," I said, meeting his eyes, "to see what you traded a heartbeat for." His expression flickered, regret, confusion, something unspoken. And for the first time that night, I realized something. He didn't look happy. When the lights dimmed, Claire took the mic for her welcome speech. Her voice echoed through the hall, sweet as champagne and sharp as glass. "To the man I married, and to the woman who taught him what he didn't want," she said, eyes on me. The crowd chuckled. Phones recorded. Ethan froze. I smiled, calm and unbothered. Because she had no idea. The real show hadn't even started yet. Music pulsed through the air, low, seductive, expensive. Laughter floated from every corner, the kind of laughter that hides boredom and pride. I sat near the bar, sipping champagne that tasted like regret. From the corner of my eye, I watched Ethan greeting guests, shaking hands, smiling on cue. He looked like a man trapped in a photograph, perfectly posed, utterly lifeless. And Claire. She was in her element, silver gown, flawless makeup, commanding every lens in the room. The it girl of the influencer world. I could see why he married her. She sparkled. Until you looked too close. Then you realized it wasn't light. It was fire burning anything that threatened her spotlight. She strutted toward me again, glass in hand. "Still here," she said with a sugary smile. "I'm impressed. I thought you'd run the moment you saw us." I smiled softly. "Run? Oh, Claire, if I ever run, it's towards something better." Her expression stiffened. "You always had a sharp tongue. I guess that's why Ethan needed peace." I tilted my head. Peace or silence? A few guests nearby turned, pretending not to listen. Claire leaned closer, lowering her voice. Be honest, Alina. You were a phase, a placeholder. He was always destined for more." Her words hit like a slap, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I smiled, that kind of slow, knowing smile that unnerves people. "Funny," I said, "because he looks like a man who left heaven for a house made of mirrors." Her eyes widened, and for a moment, just 1 second, her confidence cracked. Then she laughed. "Oh, sweetheart, denial isn't a good look. Don't embarrass yourself tonight." I raised my glass. "I won't. You're doing it for both of us." As she turned to leave, Ethan walked up, looking caught between duty and guilt. "Alina," he said quietly, "don't let her get to you." I looked at him, the man who once swore he'd never hurt me. "Get to me," I whispered. "Ethan, she didn't get to me. You did when you chose her over everything we had." He sighed. "It wasn't that simple." "It never is," I said, "especially when love is weighed against money." He winced. "You think that's all it was?" "Wasn't it?" I said, my voice trembling with restrained anger. "You left me because your parents said I wasn't good enough. And now look at you, perfect life, perfect wife, perfect misery." For a moment, he looked like he might say something honest. But Claire returned, looping her arm through his. "There you are," she purred. "I was wondering who you were talking to. Oh, it's her again." She turned to me with a smirk. "Careful, Alina. You're starting to look desperate." That word burned. Desperate. I took a slow breath, forcing a smile. "You're right, Claire. I am desperate, desperately trying to remember why I ever thought either of you were worth my time." Her smile dropped completely this time. Ethan's jaw tightened. The air around us changed, whispers, glances, the tension thick enough to taste. And then, as if on cue, the host announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the couple's anniversary toast." Claire clapped her hands dramatically. "Oh, wonderful. You'll love this, Alina. It's our story." I wanted to leave. Every instinct told me to walk out, but I stayed. Because something inside me said this night wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. The lights dimmed. A montage began playing on the giant LED screen. Photos of Ethan and Claire smiling in Paris, posing on yachts, wrapped in designer labels. The audience oohed and awed, while I sat frozen, watching my memories replaced by her face. That smile he used to give me was now hers. That look of love rehearsed, hollow, belonged to their illusion. Then Claire took the mic. "To my husband," she began, her voice echoing through the hall, "and to the woman who taught him what he didn't want." The crowd burst into awkward laughter. My chest tightened. Ethan whispered, "Claire, stop." But she didn't. "Let's raise a glass," she said, her eyes gleaming, "to all the exes who couldn't keep up." Something inside me broke, quietly, completely. But I didn't cry. Instead, I stood. My heels clicked against the marble floor like a countdown. 1, 2, 3. Every head turned as I walked up to her table. I picked up a water bottle from the bar, cold, clear, sharp in my hand. Claire's smile wavered. "What are you doing?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Finishing your toast." And then I turned the bottle upside down, slowly, deliberately, letting the water pour over her flawless hair, her diamond necklace, her picture-perfect gown. Gasps filled the room. Phones rose like a wave. Ethan froze. Claire screamed, "Are you insane?" I smiled. "No, just done." Then I placed the empty bottle on the table, fixed my hair, and walked out calm, composed, unstoppable. Behind me, chaos erupted. But in my chest, peace. Because sometimes the most powerful sound in the world is silence after humiliation. By the time I reached my apartment that night, my phone was already buzzing nonstop. Dozens of notifications, mentions, tags. At first, I ignored them, assuming they were pity messages from people who'd seen me humiliated. But when I finally opened one, I froze. There it was. A video, my video. Captioned, "When your ex's wife tries to humiliate you, but you baptize her in karma." It had over 2 million views. By morning, 12 million. The clip was everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, news blogs. Slow-motion edits, dramatic soundtracks, memes, hashtags. The Water Queen. Claire got soaked. Cold but classy. Someone even edited my walkout into slow motion with Rihanna. Needed me, playing in the background. I should have been embarrassed. But instead, for the first time in months, I smiled. The internet didn't see a bitter ex. They saw a woman standing up for herself. Comments flooded in. She handled it like a queen. Claire deserved every drop. This is the calmest revenge I've ever seen. And just like that, the power shifted. Claire, the golden influencer, became the villain of her own fairy tale. Screenshots of her old rude posts surfaced. Videos leaked of her yelling at waiters, mocking small brands, even gossiping about Ethan's business deals. Within days, sponsorships began pausing collaborations. Her brand partners dropped her faster than spilled champagne. Meanwhile, my DMs were flooded. Brands wanted to feature me. Podcasts wanted interviews. Even a bottled water company jokingly offered me a campaign. Mia called, half laughing, half screaming. "Alina, you're trending worldwide." I groaned. "Great, I always dreamed of being famous for hydration." "Girl, you don't get it, people love you. You turned humiliation into power. That's viral gold." I laughed, but deep down, it hit differently. Because this wasn't about fame. It was about finally being heard. For so long, Claire had everything: money, influence, control. And I had nothing but silence. Now the world was finally listening. And I didn't even have to raise my voice. 2 days later, Ethan called. At first, I ignored him. Then he texted, "Please, I just need to talk." Curiosity won again. I answered. His voice was low, rough. "Alina, I don't even know where to start." "Try the truth," I said coldly. He sighed. "She's furious. She's blaming me for everything. The brand deals, the hate, the comments, it's chaos. I smiled faintly. Karma has good taste. Don't, he said softly. You were right that night. I made the wrong choice. His words hit me harder than I wanted them to. Regret looks good on you, Ethan, I said. Pity it's a year too late. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but that night, seeing you again, you looked. Don't finish that sentence, I snapped. You don't get to romanticize my strength now. You created it when you broke me. Silence filled the line. Then he whispered, I'm sorry. I wanted to hang up, but my voice betrayed me. I'm not the girl you left, Ethan, and you're not the man I loved. I know, he said quietly, but maybe I can be again. The call ended, but his words lingered, unwanted, heavy, and dangerous. A week later, paparazzi photos of Claire crying in her car hit the tabloids. Headlines screamed, influencer's image crumbles after viral party drama. Perfect marriage. Sources say divorce papers might be next. Part of me felt satisfaction, sweet, cold, justified. But another part felt something else. Guilt. Because no matter what she'd done, I hadn't wanted to destroy her. Until I remembered her smirk, her words, her mockery. And the guilt vanished. That night, I received another call. Ethan again. Alina, she's gone. She moved out today, it's over. My heart stuttered. Congratulations, I said dryly. You finally get your freedom. I don't want freedom, he said. I want you. Silence. Then a whisper. I miss you, Lena. The way you made me feel. The way you saw me before the money, before all this noise. I closed my eyes, my throat tight. Ethan, you broke something in me that night. You don't get to fix it just because you're lonely. I'm not lonely, he said. I'm finally honest. I wanted to hang up. But deep down, the truth was cruel. I still loved him. Even after everything. The next morning, paparazzi photos surfaced again, this time of Ethan walking alone. No ring, no Claire, no fake smile. The caption. The man who lost both women, one to fame, one to pride. But what they didn't know was that sometimes, losing everything is the only way to see what really matters. And for Ethan, that realization had just begun. It was a Friday night. The city was glowing, alive, untouchable. And I was sitting in my apartment, pretending not to refresh my own hashtag. I'd just poured a glass of wine when the doorbell rang. Once, then twice. I frowned. No one ever just showed up at my place. When I opened the door, he was standing there. Ethan. No camera lights, no bodyguards, no perfect suit. Just jeans, a gray hoodie, and a face that looked like it hadn't slept in days. My heart betrayed me with its rhythm. Alina, his voice cracked slightly. Can I come in? I crossed my arms. You shouldn't be here. I know, but if I don't say this now, I'll regret it forever. Something in his tone made me step aside. He walked in slowly, scanning the space, my candles, my art, the quiet comfort I'd built after the wreckage he left behind. He exhaled. You made this place yours, it feels like you. Unlike the house you built with her, I said, my voice cold as glass. He flinched. Fair. I sat across from him, careful to keep distance. Say what you came to say. He took a deep breath. When I left you, it wasn't because I stopped loving you. I laughed bitterly. You'll forgive me if I don't believe that line. It's recycled. He shook his head. You think I chose her because I wanted to? You think I woke up one day and thought, let me ruin the best thing I ever had? My jaw tightened. Then why did you? He stared at the floor, his voice dropping. Because I was weak, because my company was sinking, because Claire's father offered to save it on one condition. I blinked. What condition? He looked up, eyes glassy. That I marry his daughter. The room went still. For a second, I forgot to breathe. You're joking. I wish I was, he whispered. You remember that month I disappeared before our anniversary? That's when he made the offer. I told myself it was temporary, that I could fix everything and come back to you once the deal was done. My voice cracked with disbelief. You sold our love, Ethan, for money. His throat worked hard. I thought I could buy time, but I lost myself instead. Claire didn't love me, she loved the image, the brand. And when she realized I didn't fit it anymore, she destroyed me from the inside. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to throw every broken piece of my heart at his face. But when he looked at me like that, desperate, regretful, I saw the man who once held my dreams in his hands. You could have told me, I whispered. You could have trusted me. I wanted to protect you. From what? I snapped. From the truth, from pain. You didn't protect me, Ethan. You erased me. He took a step closer. I never stopped thinking about you. Every meeting, every fake smile, I saw you. Every time she touched me, I thought of how you used to trace my jaw when I was tired. You think I don't remember? I remember everything. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. You don't get to use nostalgia as an apology. He nodded slowly. You're right, I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm begging for a chance to show you who I've become. My chest tightened. The worst part, a piece of me still wanted to believe him. I took a shaky breath. You're free now, Ethan. Go rebuild your empire, your image, whatever you need. But don't come here expecting the woman you left to still be waiting. He looked at me like I'd just stabbed him, softly, fatally. I'm not asking for her, he whispered. I'm asking for the woman who stood up in a room full of people and made the world remember her name. That's the woman I fell in love with all over again. My voice trembled. Then you're too late. I opened the door. Goodbye, Ethan. He hesitated, his eyes lingering on me like a prayer he didn't know how to end. Then he left. The door clicked shut, and I slid down against it, shaking. Tears finally came, hot and heavy, flooding the silence I'd built around my heart. Because the truth was cruel, I still loved the man who broke me. And now, he wanted to love me right. 2 days after Ethan left my apartment, I woke up to chaos. My name was trending again. But this time, it wasn't for the right reasons. Claire had gone live. 3 million viewers. Tears, fake trembling, perfect lighting. She said I had provoked her, that I'd always been obsessed with Ethan, and that I was using the internet to ruin their marriage. Then she dropped the final blow, a claim that I had blackmailed Ethan for money before the party. It was a lie. A cruel, well-scripted one. Within minutes, trolls flooded my page. Gold digger. Homewrecker. Fame-hungry witch. The same people who once called me queen now called me trash. I felt my chest tighten, but I refused to cry this time. Not again. I grabbed my phone, went live. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steel. Hi, everyone. I usually stay quiet, but not today. I need to set something straight. Thousands joined in seconds. Comments flew across the screen. Yes, I went to my ex's anniversary. And yes, I poured water on his wife because she insulted me in front of hundreds. But I didn't plan it. I didn't blackmail anyone. I didn't chase fame. I looked right into the camera. I'm not a victim. I'm not a villain. I'm a woman who got tired of pretending she's okay with being humiliated. Then I smiled softly, the kind that hurts before it heals. You don't have to like me, but you will respect me. I ended the live. 30 minutes later, that clip was everywhere. The world had seen the difference between performance and truth. Claire's crocodile tears couldn't compete with my calm honesty. And for once, the internet saw through the act. Comments flipped. Hashtags changed. Stand with Alina. Truth over tears. I didn't win a war, I survived one. That night, Ethan called again. This time, his voice was different, exhausted, broken, yet determined. She lied, Alina, about everything, and I let her do it for too long. He sounded like a man, standing in the ruins of his own life. She went to the press, he continued, Said I cheated on her with you, that I destroyed her career. My board is panicking. Investors are pulling out. I was silent. Then I asked, and what are you going to do about it? He exhaled. End it publicly, completely. The next morning, his statement hit the internet. A video, simple, unfiltered, raw. Ethan sat at his office desk. No filters, no PR mask. For too long, I've let lies shape the truth. The woman I married is not the woman she pretended to be. The one I hurt, Alina, was never the enemy. She was the only one who ever saw the real me. He paused, looking straight into the camera. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm stepping down as CEO. I won't let this circus define who I am anymore. The world exploded. Claire screamed betrayal online, calling him unstable. Her followers turned on her for lying. Her sponsors fled completely. And for the first time, Ethan was free. Later that evening, he showed up at my door again. No cameras this time, no chaos, just silence. He looked at me with eyes that carried both ruin and hope. It's done, he said quietly. I lost everything. I studied him, the man who once chose ambition over love, now stripped of both. Maybe now, I said softly, you can finally start from the truth. He stepped closer, his voice trembling. I don't care about the money or the company. None of it mattered without you. I just want one chance, Alina, to build something real. Tears burned my eyes. You broke me, Ethan. I know, he whispered, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving I can be the one to heal you. I should have turned him away. I should have closed the door. But instead, I reached out, my fingers brushing his cheek. And for the first time in years, he smiled. Not the polished, public smile, but the real one. The one that once made me fall in love with him. That night, we didn't talk about the past. We just sat by my window, watching the city lights fade into dawn. Two broken souls, somehow finding peace in the same silence that once tore them apart. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was something close. Something real. 2 months had passed since the storm. And for once, my name wasn't trending, it was respected. After my viral stand and Claire's downfall, brands that had once ignored me were now reaching out. But this time, I was selective. I didn't want fake collaborations or pity deals. I wanted purpose. So I built something of my own, a digital platform called Own Your Story. It was for women who'd been humiliated, silenced, or underestimated, and wanted to reclaim their voices. To my surprise, it grew fast. Maybe because it wasn't about perfection, it was about power. Real, messy, unapologetic power. The first time I stood on stage to give a talk, I saw hundreds of women in the audience holding signs that said, "Thank you for being the woman who didn't stay quiet." And for the first time in years, I felt proud of me, not who I was with, not who I was before, but who I'd become. Ethan, meanwhile, had disappeared from the public eye. No press, no posts, no spotlight. Rumors said he'd sold his shares, moved into a small apartment, and was rebuilding his business under a new name, one that had no trace of his family empire. Sometimes, I'd see updates about him in business forums or quiet interviews. He never mentioned me. But I could always tell when he was talking about us, the way his tone softened when he said things like, "Sometimes failure is the best teacher for love." One evening, I was hosting a charity event for my foundation when I saw him again. He was standing at the edge of the crowd, simple suit, no entourage, no arrogance. Just him. Our eyes met, and the world went still again. He approached slowly, like someone walking toward a memory they were afraid to disturb. "Alina," he said, voice low, "you look incredible." I smiled politely. "You look human." He chuckled. "That's progress." We stood there in silence for a moment before he added, "I read your latest article, the one about forgiveness." I tilted my head, and I'm still learning how to deserve it. Something in his honesty disarmed me. Gone was the smooth businessman who spoke in rehearsed sentences. This was a man stripped bare, flawed, humble, real. I nodded toward the stage. If you're here for the press, they'll be disappointed. This isn't the crowd that cares about power. He smiled faintly. I didn't come for power, I came to donate. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a check, large enough to fund an entire year of programs for the foundation. I stared at him, stunned. This is too much, Ethan. He shook his head. It's not enough, not for what I owe you. The crowd moved around us, music, laughter, flashes, but we were in our own little silence. I'm not trying to buy forgiveness, he said gently. I'm trying to be part of something good, something you built without me. I felt tears well up. You're not the same man I remember. He looked at me, eyes soft. Good, because the man you remember didn't deserve you. Over the next few weeks, our paths kept crossing. Meetings, charity dinners, quiet coffee conversations. We weren't rushing into anything. It was cautious, delicate, almost sacred. One night, after a panel event, we walked out together into the soft city rain. He said, "You know, the first time I saw you after everything, I thought you'd hate me forever." I smirked. I did. Then I got too busy loving myself to keep hating you. He laughed quietly, that same boyish sound that used to melt me. Good. You deserve to love yourself more than anyone else. We stood under a streetlight, rain glittering around us like tiny falling stars. He brushed a wet strand of hair from my face, slowly, gently. Can I ask you something? He whispered. What? If there's ever a chance that you could see me not as the man who left you, but as the man who learned why he shouldn't have. I met his gaze, searching for even a shadow of the liar he once was, but all I saw was a man who'd fallen apart and rebuilt himself piece by piece. I don't know, I said softly, but maybe we can start by being two people who don't owe each other anything, just honesty. He nodded. Then that's where we start. He didn't kiss me that night. He didn't have to. The silence between us said everything. Weeks passed, and something unexpected happened. The world began to root for us. Paparazzi caught us once, walking out of a cafe together. The headline read, "From Scandal to Redemption, are Alina and Ethan rewriting their story?" For once, the comments weren't cruel. They were supportive. Because everyone loves a comeback, especially when it's real. One night, Mia called me after seeing the photos. "Girl, are you seriously doing this? After everything?" I smiled quietly. "I'm not doing anything. I'm just letting peace in." "Peace looks suspiciously like Ethan Jacobs," she teased. "Maybe," I said softly. "But this time he doesn't define me. He just fits into my world if I let him." It wasn't a fairy tale. It was something better, a slow rebuild of trust. And sometimes, that's the bravest kind of love there is. It started with a message from Mia. "Mia, you need to check Twitter, right now." My stomach dropped. That tone, urgent, protective, dangerous, only ever meant one thing. I opened the app. And froze. A leak. Screenshots. Emails. Supposedly between me and Ethan. Conversations about how we planned the water bottle incident for publicity. Fake, every word of it. But that didn't matter. Because in the world of clicks and rage, lies traveled faster than truth. Within an hour, hashtags turned ugly again. Watergate. Fake queen. Alina exposed. I threw my phone onto the couch and pressed my hands to my face. This wasn't happening. Not again. The same flood of humiliation I'd fought to escape came crashing back, cruel and familiar. Just then, my phone buzzed again. "Ethan." I hesitated, then answered. "Alina, don't panic," he said immediately. "I know what's happening, it's Claire." "Of course it's Claire," I spat, because apparently her career's not dead enough. "She hired a PR firm. They're fabricating everything to destroy you, to destroy us." I paced the room, anger trembling through every word. I knew it was too good to be true, Ethan. The peace, the quiet, it never lasts. He was silent for a moment, then said softly, I won't let her do this. Not again. The next morning, chaos exploded. Headlines screamed. The truth about Alina's viral moment, all a setup. Sources say Ethan Jacobs used drama to relaunch his image. Every time I turned on my phone, there it was my face next to his, plastered under words like fake, scandal, liars. My team called. Sponsors paused campaigns. Brands needed clarity. It was déjà vu, the same pit I'd climbed out of, waiting to swallow me again. By noon, my doorbell rang. Ethan. He looked like held jaw tight, eyes bloodshot. I just came from a meeting with my lawyers, he said. Claire paid someone to fake those messages. I can prove it. Prove it, I laughed bitterly. Ethan, the internet doesn't care about proof. It cares about spectacle. He stepped closer. Then we give them one, but on our terms. That evening, he called a press conference. I didn't want to go, but he insisted. Alina, I'm not letting you fight this alone again. Not this time. The hall was packed, flashing lights, buzzing microphones, cameras hungry for chaos. Ethan stood in front of the podium, calm but burning. And then he said something no one expected. Everything you've heard about Alina is a lie. The messages are fabricated, created by my ex-wife's team. I have the digital forensics to prove it, but that's not what matters. He turned to look at me, in front of everyone. What matters is that a woman stood up for herself one night, and the world tried to destroy her twice for it. I was part of that destruction once. Not anymore. His voice cracked slightly. If protecting her means losing every deal, every penny, every ounce of my reputation, so be it. Because the only truth worth fighting for is hers. The room went silent. You could feel hearts shifting, the way only raw honesty could silence a crowd. He reached out, gently taking my hand, right there under the blinding lights. I'm not here to save her, he said. She already saved herself. I'm just here to stand beside her. For a moment, I forgot the cameras, the reporters, the chaos. I saw only him. And the part of me that had sworn to never forgive finally cracked. Later that night, after the conference, we walked out into the cool air, quiet, exhausted, almost unreal. He turned to me. You don't have to forgive me, Alina, but I need you to know I meant every word. I whispered, you didn't just mean them, Ethan. You proved them. He smiled faintly. Then maybe, someday, I can earn your trust too. I looked up at him, heart trembling, and said, maybe someday already started. He brushed a strand of hair from my face, gentle, patient, and this time, when he leaned in, I didn't pull away. The kiss was soft, real. The kind that doesn't scream passion, but promises peace. The next morning, the truth broke everywhere. Screenshots disproved Claire's claims. Her PR firm was exposed. Apologies flooded in. Alina exposed became Alina exonerated. The internet changed its tune again, but I barely cared. Because for the first time, it wasn't about them. It was about me and him, two people who had walked through hell and somehow found grace on the other side. That night, I posted one last thing. A simple photo, Ethan and I, hands intertwined, standing beneath city lights. Caption, you can't cancel the truth. 6 months later. Spring had returned to the city, soft sunlight spilling through glass towers, warm breezes dancing with the scent of new beginnings. My platform, Own Your Story, had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. Workshops, interviews, a book deal in progress. Everywhere I went, women stopped me to say, you made me believe I could stand up again. Every time, I smiled, because they didn't know the full truth. I didn't just stand up once. I'd stood up 100 times, every time life tried to push me back down. Ethan and I had kept things quiet since the scandal ended. No public appearances. No headlines. Just private, slow healing. He was rebuilding, too. A small ethical investment firm focused on women-led startups. He called it Phoenix Capital. I teased him once. You really went for the rebirth symbolism, huh? He grinned. You were the inspiration. That morning, he invited me to the launch of his new foundation, Reclaim, aimed at helping women entrepreneurs rebuild after career sabotage. It was small, intimate, elegant. I didn't expect much until I walked in and saw what he'd done. The event banner read, "Inspired by the woman who taught me what strength looks like, Alina Ross." My breath caught. People turned to look, clapping softly. Ethan stepped up to the microphone, eyes finding mine in the crowd. A year ago, I was the man who broke a good woman. Then I watched her turn pain into power. Today, I dedicate this foundation to every woman who's ever been silenced and every man who's finally learning to listen. My eyes blurred with tears. When he stepped off stage, he walked straight toward me. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Ethan," I whispered, "what are you doing?" He smiled softly. Something I should have done before the money, before the mistakes, before the noise. He opened the box, not with flash, not with spectacle, but with quiet sincerity. Inside was a delicate, simple ring. No diamonds, just a thin gold band engraved with one word, "Again." He said, "Not because I want to rewrite our past, but because I want to start again, with the truth this time." Tears slipped down my cheeks. "Ethan, we're not the same people anymore." "I know," he said gently. "That's exactly why we deserve a new beginning." The room faded away, the cameras, the whispers, everything. I felt only the heartbeat of the man who had once shattered me, and now held every piece with care. I nodded slowly. "Okay, let's start again." He smiled, the kind of smile that felt like sunrise after a storm, and slipped the ring onto my finger. A few months later, we had a small ceremony. Just friends, family, no media, no glitz. It wasn't the wedding of a billionaire. It was the wedding of two souls who had learned how to rebuild, forgive, and love without losing themselves. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Ethan whispered in my ear, "No more goodbyes." And for once, I believed him. If you've ever been humiliated, broken, or made to believe you weren't enough, remember this. You are not defined by who hurt you. You are defined by how you rise. Revenge can feel sweet, but healing is where the real power lies. Because nothing terrifies the world more than a woman who turns her pain into purpose. So don't stay quiet. Don't play small. And never apologize for reclaiming your story. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is living a life so beautiful. It silences every lie ever told about you.
If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen play out?